Rampage.
Hey everyone, welcome back for another dose of a much-needed Walking Dead fix in this mid-season hiatus. It's been a busy week in the Walking Dead universe. Just as we got a new trailer for Season 8B, a second one was released the very next day. This new trailer finally shows us what's going on with Carl, and it's not looking good. This video will break down the new trailer and what it means for the rest of the season and all-out war. Warning, beyond this point there are spoilers for people who are not up to date on the Walking Dead television series and the comics. This trailer gave us a lot of new information, so let's jump right into the first shot. Here, if you look to the door of the only house not on fire, you'll see Rick and Michonne dragging Carl inside. We then cut to a shot of Carl in the sewers again, but what's really important here is his dialogue.
You put away your gun, how you stopped fighting. It was right. It still is.
This is the reason Gimple gave for Carl's death. These are the kind of lines you'd expect to hear setting up Rick sparing everyone's favorite baseball bat-wielding psychopath. Next, we see Rick standing alone in the field, looking like he's in a daze. The wounds on his face still look fresh from his fight with Negan, so we're assuming this is the morning after Alexandria burned. This wooded area looks to be most likely right outside the hilltop. We want to draw your attention to Rick's hand in the wide shot. He's holding something, possibly a letter. Could it be the letter that Carl wrote in the mid-season finale? The fact that Rick's alone the next morning is disturbing to us, and we have to admit this doesn't look good for Carl. If Rick was being pressed down by Negan's forces and driven into a situation where he had to leave Carl before his final moments, he'd be with a team of people. Although we do want to point out that Rick did leave Carl to go start fighting a horde of zombies all by himself when Carl lost his eye back in the mid-season premiere for Season 6. Here we get the best shots yet of the Swamp Things emerging, and it's implied strongly that Daryl and his team will battle it out with them. We want to stop here and point out something very unusual. The two walkers most prominent in the frame look like their movements are synchronized. We've never noticed walkers moving like this before in the Walking Dead universe. Although these walkers look pretty decomposed, what if they were whisperers? If they were in fact humans covered in swamp juice, we think it would be pretty hard to tell. Maybe the synchronized movements are a very random coincidence, but we thought this moment was worth pointing out due to the fact that between the two trailers, we've seen numerous shots of these kinds of walkers, almost to give them more significance than your run-of-the-mill walker. Next, we see Negan and Simon talking about how Rick and the rest of Alexandria escaped total destruction. The trailer then cuts to what is most certainly a flashback, as Carl is still wearing his outfit from episode 6. This shot is meant to illustrate Carl's escape plan and is something we've already seen play out. The next shot shows the other part of the plan, the group hiding in the sewers, talking about what's next. The group obviously came to the decision to go to the hilltop as we see them entering the hilltop's gates. As the gates are opening, the trailer reveals a shot of Morgan and Carol also at the hilltop. The big question here is, did they attempt to rescue Ezekiel and fail, or are they regrouping here and planning to go back? We'll get into more of that later.
Ezekiel, no!
The next shot shows Daryl carrying little ass kicker, aka Judith, through the gates, along with Rosita, Tobin, Tara, and some others. Here we see Carol running up looking just about the happiest we've ever seen her. Of course, for poor Carol, the happiness is short-lived, as it seems some sort of bad news has been broken to her. Could this be about Carl? We hope not, but have to admit her reaction doesn't look good for him. Daryl comforts Carol, and then we hear his badass line.
All of us together will be their worst damn nightmare.
The next shot is one we saw in the first new trailer where Morgan is leading a group of walkers alongside a fence. In some back-to-back walker action, the next clip shows the Swamp Things, again with Sadiq and Daryl stabbing two walkers at the same time. Watching this in slow motion, we did notice that Daryl doesn't appear to be stabbing this walker in the head. Is this just a badly choreographed shot that the editor decided most people wouldn't notice? Or did Daryl realize they are not all walkers and stab one to take him prisoner? We feel it would be confusing to jump to the Whisperers right in the middle of The Last Stand, but still think there could be something more to these walkers. In yet another walker action shot, we see Rick and Michonne climbing up what looks to be a pile of mattresses. Given the other trash we see in the frame, we believe this to be the garbage people's junkyard. We also want to highlight these walkers. They look like they are most likely the garbage people themselves. In these other group shots, we see their clothing and long hair which looks similar, and we think this is the most logical conclusion. We saw Simon with armed saviors in the junkyard in the first new trailer, and we also saw Rick and Michonne creeping into the junkyard. Now we see a group of walkers resembling the garbage people chasing them. Did the saviors annihilate the garbage people? We think so. Next up is a shot that matches one of the pictures released from the mid-season premiere last week of Rick and Michonne putting out a fire in what is presumably Alexandria. Here we see what is most likely the aftermath of that picture, as some walkers have come up behind Michonne while she was using the fire extinguisher, and Rick attacks what is probably a walker just in front of him. Here we see Gavin in Ezekiel's face telling him that Negan will kill him.
Negan's gonna kill you.
This transitions into a shot of some saviors putting a coffin down on the table in front of Negan, implying this could be Ezekiel. The trailer then cuts back to Ezekiel's response, at which point we see that Ezekiel is not the one in the coffin. Negan is using some kind of power tool to kill whoever this is. We don't know if this guy is important to the story or another red shirt, but we'll find out soon. Ezekiel's next line,
I made a choice I could live with.
shows a shot of the leader of the garbage people, Jadis, looking super depressed and emo about something that's happened. We believe all signs point to the garbage people being annihilated. If the Whisperers have not in fact been set up or existed yet, this could be the logical starting point for them. Jadis shaves her head out of depression, changes her name to Alpha, and rebuilds a community. The next shot we see is from the grave we saw in the very first trailer. Again, we see Rick walking away from it with Carl's gun. Here, Carol says,
If we have to take them, we take them.
in the first shot, we see she's talking to Nabila from the Kingdom, who helped out during the escape in the mid-season finale. This shot transitions into a clip where Carol and Morgan are creeping in the shadows that matches a picture released by EW last month. The next shot is Nabila's response and looks to be in the woods, possibly near the hilltop.
They don't stand a chance.
This transitions back into what looks like an attack in the Kingdom by Carol to possibly rescue Ezekiel, as most people have assumed would happen. We see Gavin react to an explosion of some sort and Ezekiel jump away. But how will it end? If Carol's at the hilltop, why haven't we seen Ezekiel there? Next, we see Rick and Michonne exiting the shipping container we saw them on the inside of in the first new trailer. We then cut to Eugene and one of the women from the sanctuary, then Negan himself, who is saying,
Once I clip Rick, everything's aces again.
is he trying to convince someone else or himself? In the next shot, we see Rick and Michonne once again dragging Carl through a burning Alexandria. He really does look horrible here. Here, there's a Rick line over the shot of Negan and the Saviors we've seen a few times now.
They have weapons.
The timing of the line about weapons and the fact that they could use these walkers to line their weapons with walker guts like in the comics seems like a tease to that very thing happening. We also see Dwight in the center of the shot here moving forward. This matches a shot from the very first trailer of Dwight coming through a group of saviors, although that one made it appear that he could have been a prisoner being pushed in from behind. This shot to us is a confirmation Dwight somehow managed to keep his cover and is still a double agent, at least for now. Here we have a shot of Michonne crying in a hard to distinguish location. The tears don't look good for Carl. The next clip shows us what is possibly the beginning of the Garbage People massacre. Simon points his gun away from Jadis and onto one of her lieutenants. It's going to be hard for anyone to feel bad for Jadis or her people, though. Here we see Rosita killing a Swamp Thing walker. We saw that she was struggling in the first new trailer, so at least we know she makes it out of that situation alive. Next up is one of our favorite sequences of this trailer. Killer Carol and Maniac Morgan together again in an attack on King Ezekiel's throne room to rescue him. We hear Morgan's line,
We can take them one by one.
and given that Carol pretty much single-handedly took down Terminus, we believe them. We see Morgan walking through a dark room, possibly looking for Ezekiel. But where is he? The timing is important here because we know that Carol and Morgan are at the hilltop before the Alexandrians get there. Did they stay the night of the attack and try to rescue Ezekiel, or is the night we see here in this attack a future night? If they stayed that night, then it's possible Ezekiel died during the rescue attempt. We hope that this isn't the case, and this rescue is the next day, but we find it hard to believe that Carol and Morgan would be at the hilltop and go back to rescue Ezekiel all by themselves. It's more likely that they tried that night. Hopefully, we just haven't seen a shot of Ezekiel at the hilltop, and he will be there. Here we see some more of the rescue attempt as Morgan murders one guy after the other. Next, we see Maggie and the hilltop getting ready for the day while we hear Dwight's line,
I'm here to help you beat Negan.
This shot of Dwight shows that he's talking to Tara, who had a gun pressed against his temple in the first new trailer. The next shot, we see Maggie looking confused or concerned, which is different from the angry scowl she's had in most of the other clips. Here we see Father Gabriel for the first time in any of the new trailers or photos. His eyes are bloodshot and he is aiming a gun at someone and looks like he could possibly be a little delirious. What is going on with him? There's no real way to tell, and we don't even know if this shot really is at the hilltop, but it is possible he got there with a doctor and his sickness is now accelerating. The trailer then transitions into a Negan line from his walkie conversation with Rick that's been teased since the very first trailer. We see a shot of Rick shooting, but don't know who he's shooting at because the next shot is at a different time of day and appears to be the walkers Morgan was leading in earlier clips. The next shot we see is a sniper scope pointed at saviors defending the sanctuary. This tells us there will be another attack on the sanctuary unless this is a flashback scene. Here we see Morgan with a sniper rifle, although it appears his position has been compromised as he's hitting the deck from some gunfire. We then hear a line from Rick we haven't heard before in the trailers.
I'm gonna kill you.
This goes against Carl's speech, but maybe it's just part of Rick being conflicted. The next shot is a close-up of Negan using Lucille once again. It looks like the same scene where he's talking to the group of saviors with walkers tied to the fences. We believe this is where he starts coding Lucille and all the other weapons in walker guts. In the comics, this tactic seemed cool, but did not have a lot of impact on the main characters. Will the series be any different? Here we see Aaron for the first time since he and Enid ran into the Oceanside community in the mid-season finale. Is this confirmation Aaron is still alive? Is he consoling Enid about Carl or saying goodbye to her? While Negan delivers his reason for being who he is, we see a shot of Michonne outside of Alexandria with an uncertain look on her face. Negan's line finishes with a very determined look in Negan leaning in towards Lucille. Clearly, he is not going to make the last stand easy for Rick and company. The last set of shots are over some haunting lines coming from Carl that a lot of people are calling his last words.
Before Mom died, she told me that I was gonna beat this world. You will.
The next shot shows Rick once again out in some sort of field looking confused and sad and lost. We really hope there's more to this story than meets the eye. Well, that's it for our breakdown of the second new trailer, folks. To recap, we've learned that the Swamp Walkers were moving in unison. Morgan and Carol made it to the hilltop along with most of the other Alexandrians. The garbage people have most likely been exterminated except for Jadis, and that Carol and Morgan launched an attack on Ezekiel's throne room to rescue him. We've also learned Double Agent Dwight is still in play and that Negan has started making biological weapons. And for the time being, Father Gabriel is alive but still sick. We know that this new trailer makes it appear that Carl is all but a goner, but we did want to end our video with a statement just made on the Walker Stalker Cruise panel by Robert Kirkman about Carl's fate. He's not dead yet. He might not die. You never know. Why would Kirkman say this now? Was he just feeling like joking around a little more that day? We know that's probably the case, but we're still holding out some hope for Carl Grimes.
Liar.
Thanks so much for watching our videos and supporting our channel. Please let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. Turn on the notifications button for our channel so you can see our next video as soon as it comes out, and don't forget to subscribe.